Welcome back to the Morning Cup with Josh. My name is Josh, and today's episode, this is going to be my first episode really doing the podcast, not just the trailer, but the actual podcast. I'm super excited. And today's episode, I'm going to get kind of more in depth about why I have the mentality that I do, why I think the way I do, and just kind of why I'm so positive about life and everything. So really, if you don't know me very well, you're about to, because I don't have anything to hide. I'm not that kind of person. If you ask me a question, I'll answer it. And I'm about to get pretty deep. But like I said, got nothing to hide. So, what is going on, guys? It is Josh here from the Morning Cup with Josh. I just want to say thank you to everybody that is listening or watching to this podcast. The support means the world to me. This has been a project that over the last 3-4 weeks, it's been in the works with Tristan and Jackson Bredhoft, who are running the Los Hermanos podcast, which is sponsoring this podcast for the first 52 episodes. I've partnered up with them to make this happen. So I'm absolutely stoked about that. So the reason that my podcast is under the Los Hermanos name is because of that, because they are sponsoring the first 52 episodes, which will probably be split up into 2 seasons, but we'll see how it goes. On today's episode, I kind of just talk about why I have the mentality that I do, why I think the way I do, and I kind of get a little into some of my past and a breakup that I had gone through. It's nothing too crazy, nothing too detailed. Of course, at the end of every episode, there's going to be a quote of the day, so stay tuned for that, which this one is kind of motivational. So if you guys are having a down Monday, make sure you stay all the way to the end and listen for that quote of the day, because it's the best part of the podcast, I think. I guess we can get into this. So why do I think the way that I think? For as long as I can remember, I've always been really positive. I've always been upbeat. I've never really had a whole lot in my life to be sad about, negative about. I'm a happy guy. I'm a happy guy. I'm always upbeat. But I'm a firm believer that there is going to be multiple events in a person's life that is going to completely change their perspective. It's going to change their outlook, and it's going to tear them down. And you got to get back up. You gotta hit that rock bottom, not necessarily rock bottom. You got to hit that low to realize that you're living. I guess, if that makes sense. Made sense in my head, so we're gonna go with it. So yeah, I think that there's something in your life that will happen where you're just going to go, whoa, I didn't even know that could happen to me. And I just don't know what to do. And a good example of that is either losing a loved one, or like a breakup, not like a 2-week date breakup, but like a long-term relationship breakup. And that's what happened to me in my situation, which really it was like a whoa, that just happened, and now I don't know what to do. And looking back on it, I realized a lot of stuff that I was doing wrong in my life, I guess. Not necessarily wrong. I don't live with regrets. I hate people that say that they regret things. I don't regret anything I've ever done. But you realize things that you need to change, things that you need to tweak, stuff like that. So now we get into the interesting stuff. And this is weird to talk about because I'm not only talking about it out loud in my apartment by myself, but I'm talking to whoever listens to this. But like I said, I got nothing to hide. And close friends and family already know this story. So let's get into it. So really when stuff started to happen for me, it was in January. January was when I ended, the relationship that I was in ended. It was a year and a half long relationship. Um, and when I say I'm a happy guy, it was like no matter what was going on, I always had a positive outlook on things. It was like, whatever bad is going on, it can be fixed. Simple as that. If you want it to get better, you will work to make it get better. Um, and there was a little bit of conflicting viewpoints on that. The easiest way to put it is that I didn't know what to do. Um, I live here in Battle Creek by myself. I am moving to Texas soon, in the next few weeks. But, during the time of all this and really for the last year, I have lived in Battle Creek by myself. My parents live in Texas. Um, my closest family is like 45 minutes away in Eaton Rapids, and my sister lives in Grand Rapids. So I I went through this with like two close friends because I keep a small circle. I think that's really important to me anyways, is just keep a small circle. You don't need 25, 35, 45 friends. It's honestly ridiculous. I got like my one best friend who will be on next week's show. Um, he's like a brother to me. But other than that, I got a couple friends here and there that know stuff like this, but it's keep your circle small. That's a side point. Keep your circle small because then you have less drama. Learn that the hard way. So yeah, I go through that, and I mean it hit me harder than I ever thought it would. In that whole month of January, I just like I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to work. Didn't want to leave my place. Um, Honestly, if it wasn't for my friends, I probably wouldn't have gone out after school and after work. I would have just came home and sat on the couch and watched TV and just I don't know. Like it's crazy looking back and seeing that my friends really got me like out of the house. Like, hey, let's go to Applebee's at half off apps. Hey, let's go do this. Nick would text me, hey, let's hang out. Um, and yeah, forever thankful for those guys. So shout out to them, Nick, Levi, Hunter, all those guys. Um, but even then, I had no direction. I was like, I felt like I just hit this pattern where it was like I wasn't doing anything. I was waking up, going to class, sometimes going to work, and then coming home. And I hated it. And I was like, and I wasn't who I am right now. I was like super like sad all the time. I didn't know what to do. Like I just had a super negative outlook because I was still like um, getting over this huge thing in my life that just came collapsing down. I literally just my body just stopped functioning right, and it was the craziest experience ever. I'm so glad I went through it, but that sucked. um, yeah, I really did. I kind of started to just spiral into this weird pit of like I just didn't want to do anything. And one day I woke up and my place was a mess, and I was kind of like, what the hell am I doing? Like why am I acting like everything's going wrong when that was part of my life that just came to a conclusion? I stopped thinking of it as this big breakup and this big heartbreak, but I started thinking of it as okay, that book ended, you know, turn the page, or go get another book off the bookshelf, something like that. And what I started to do, and I was still sad. I was still in this state of mind where I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do anything. Um, and I kind of thought to myself, I was like, yo, why am I acting like this? Why don't I go out and just act happy? And I did that whole time. My friends are, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Ha ha ha, like joking around. And that's how I am. I don't go out of my way to like express my feelings to many people. I think my older sister, I'll talk about stuff like that with really personally, and then like my best friend Nick as well. Um, but yeah, it's I kind of started to do. I wrote on my notes, acting positive to trick myself, and I wrote that because that's literally what I did. It sounds crazy, but I would go out of my way and I would act like the most happy guy ever. Like I would literally act like everything was okay. Like not just okay, everything was great. Like everything was as good as it could possibly be. And I started by doing that, I started to feel better. Like I really did start to like feel like, hey, if I go out and I go downtown, um, and I just start talking to people and being a nice guy, like it makes me feel better. So why don't I keep doing it? So I kept doing it, and then eventually, fast forward, I finally kind of really got over what was going on in my life after a few months, and then it was like that positivity just kept going, and I kept going out of my way to be the nicest, most positive guy I could be. Um, and I'm not gonna say that every word that comes out of my mouth is positive, or that every word that comes out of my mouth is super like, I don't even know how to explain it, but um, because I'm a human, human beings, we're gonna have our times where we're in bad moods. We're gonna have our times where maybe we say things that we don't mean. We say things that things just kind of slip, and um, I think that's okay. Yeah, obviously, you shouldn't be fake and be happy all the time, because if you're sad, you're sad. If you're mad, you're mad. Um, but what I learned is just to really try and be the happiest you can be, even if your life is collapsing. Find that one positive and roll with it. Find that one thing that is still making you happy and roll with it. That's Yeah. And that kind of leads into the quote of the day, the best part of the podcast. I know that was like really sad and somber, and now we're getting into the most positive thing. Life goes on. The quote I picked out is a very simple quote, and this is kind of my mindset. This is what I tell myself. If I could sum up the way I think in 3 words, it'd be life goes on. Um, no matter what's going to happen, life's gonna knock your ass down. Like stuff's gonna happen, and you're not gonna know how to fix it. And that's what happened with me. It was like the first time that had happened, and I was in Battle Creek by myself. I didn't have any family close by, and I was like, damn, I don't even know what to do, right? And I don't believe I personally don't believe that everything happens for a reason. I'm not a big believer in that. Um, but I do think that what happened to me and what hopefully happens to everybody at one point in their life, or multiple times, I hope I get knocked back down, because it's going to force me to go out of my way to be as positive as I can be again. But I hope that that happens to everybody multiple times, because it's going to teach you a lesson. You have to learn from your hardships. You have to be at rock bottom at least once. And I'm not going to say that that was rock bottom for me, because I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know what the future holds. Okay? But I can tell you, in my last almost 20 years of life, what happened that period of my life from January to like late February, early March. Actually, damn, it was like March. Like, so 3 months, like that 3 months of my life, that was the most rock bottom I have been. And I'm sure there's a layer of rock below that, and I'm gonna hit that at one point too. But I know that, and going through what I'd gone through, I know how to get out of that. I know what to do to push myself to get back up to the top. And that's my motivational speech for the day. I hope it helps. But yeah, I think just what my mentality has been, and sometimes it's people like it, sometimes people hate it, but it's literally that no matter what happens, life goes on. You hate your job, and I don't listen to this advice, but if you hate your job so much where you literally have called in sick just because you hated it that much, quit your damn job. Quit it. Leave. Call in, say, hey, I'm putting in my 2 weeks, I'm done. Because no matter what happens after that, you have to remember that your life is going to continue. Quitting your job is not the end of the world. Like, things will always get better. And so that's something that my older sister like preached to me like over and over and over again when I was going through this breakup. She said, no matter how sad you feel right now, it will get better. She goes, I've been through it, and I would love to have her on here as a guest because she went through some really, really, really tough stuff, which I won't say anything because I want to have her on the show, but it probably won't be anytime soon. But yeah, I think it's just something that I went through, which was the most positive. That doesn't make sense. This negative thing that happened in my life made me the most positive I've been in my life. There's things that happen that I can't even explain. Like, I was in a relationship that ended, and now I look back and it's like, I'm glad that ended. I'm glad that that part of my life is over, so I can move on. And now I know what's going to be better for me moving forward, and better for my future. If that makes sense. I think it makes sense. Like I said, my brain, sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. You just gotta, bear with me. I've had a lot of head injuries, so sometimes words don't make up the sentence like I think they do. I think that is all I have for the podcast today. I apologize if people think these are kind of short. I'm just now starting out. Next week's one, I think, will be a little bit longer because I'll have a guest on. It just kind of depends on how long this one comes out to be. But, yeah. You guys can find this podcast on my Facebook, which is Josh Milliken, Millikin. You guys can also follow me on Instagram at Milliken6, spelled the same way, and Twitter at JMilliken6. And then podcast can be found on Apple Podcast and Spotify and Anchor.fm, I believe, at the Los Hermanos podcast. That's all I have for today. So yeah, follow me on social media. Make sure you subscribe to the Los Hermanos podcast so you can get not only all of my new episodes, but all of the Drinks with Los Hermanos episodes, which come out on Tuesdays, and mine come out on Mondays. So 2 days in a row, you got amazing podcasts to listen to. So I don't know why you're not subscribed right now. So go subscribe. Go subscribe. But that's all I have for you guys today. So whether you guys are watching or listening in the morning, the day, or the night, have a good one, and thank you for coming to the Morning Cup with Josh. I'm Josh. See you. Yep, that's all I got to say for you guys today. Once again, thank you guys for watching or listening, and welcome to the podcast.